With southerly winds forecasted throughout the weekend, the beautiful green water should push right into the bays and along the surf. But the winds will also make it hot. So get out early, take time and advantage of the calm conditions to beat the heat. This is the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. I'm Brie Gabrielle, and I've got my trusty sidekick back with me today, Captain Rick Murphy. Welcome back to the show, Rick. We caught a lot of great fish last week, and I can't wait to see what our captains and guides have for us today, especially when it comes to surf fishing.
Well, you know, Brie, while I took the week off, I was actually a fan of the show and actually watched the show, and you and Tommy and Dave really carried the baton very well.
Oh, good.
I want you to know it was nice to be able to sit back and watch you guys do such a great job.
You know what? Thank you, and I'm really happy you're a fan of your own show.
Oh, I am.
That's great. All right, well, let's see what Dave Farrell has to think about our surf and turf theme today. Dave, you did a great job last week.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I can't watch myself on TV. I get embarrassed.
Well,
we do too. Yeah. Just kidding.
Can't watch it.
I can see why you get embarrassed.
Yeah,
Dave.
I do. We're going to talk about catching some fish in the surf today.
Cool.
It's going to be good. All right, we're fishing from just about anywhere where the land meets the water in the lower fresh region. And Matt Reed is first up to tell us how to get it done on Somerville, Lake Travis, Buckhannon, Georgetown, and Lake Falcon. Go for it, Matt.
All right, let's get this thing started. Got a report from Greg Boyk with Anglers Angle Guide Service. Lake Somerville, the bass have been fairly slow this week. But you can still catch a few out on the deep brush piles and deep drop offs on a shaky head with a green pumpkin trick worm or even a black. That seems to be the best colors. And what the biggest key to get a bite right now is to fish extremely slow. Moving on over to Fayette County, fishing's been fair. Hadn't had much wind, so that makes it a little bit tough. Early in the morning, there's still some good fish along the reeds. You can catch those on a swim jig or a frog. And from mid-morning on for the rest of the day, you want to move out to the main lake drop-offs, around the discharge and road beds, that kind of thing out on the main lake. With a Carolina rig, either a stick bait or a fluke in that 15 to 25 foot of water. Green pumpkin magic and tilapia have been the best colors. You can also try a drop shot out there with a small creature bait on it with about a 12-inch leader. That will add some fish to your bucket during the day. Brian Cotter in the Austin area sent me a report from Lake Travis. Travis still kicking out a few fish. You want to look for the flats with the drains going all the way to the bank, with the ditches going all the way where they meet the shore. Most of the fish are in the back of that, close to the, where it meets the shore. Catch them on the top water, either walking style or a popper. Otherwise, you want to get you a little finesse worm, 4 or 5 inches long, and watermelon red or watermelon candy. You can catch some on a Texas rig style or either shaky head. Lake Buckhannon's been doing very well early in the morning and real late in the afternoon. Using top waters, a popping style has been best. Also, the square bill crankbaits have worked well shallow. Later in the day or in midday, get you a jig and move out on the deeper drops, and that's the best way to catch a big one. Lake Georgetown is just doing good in the evenings and at night. You catch them on the shaky head trick worm and watermelon candy or black. What's neat about Lake Georgetown, every now and then you'll actually run across a big smallmouth. That's what we've got for bass this week. We got a customer of Brian Capt with a really good Central Texas bass from that Austin area. Just beautiful fish. Most of those come out of that real clear water in that area, so they're colored up really nice.
Yes, you're right. All right, tell us about the catfish, bub.
All right, down at Falcon, my buddy Ram Reyes with Texas Kings Outfitters, they've been just killing them. Water temperature is warming up, as you can imagine. Down south, it's hot. The fish in the rivers kind of quit running from what little we got from that hurricane. So the catfish have moved out to the mouth of the creeks on the main lake, being caught, on the ledges and hard bottom close to that creek channel. Cut shad has been the biggest key bait for the keepers and the trophy cats. But really focus on that hard bottom at the mouth of the creeks, and you may catch you a blue cat of a lifetime. That picture right there is just an awesome blue cat that one of Ram's customers caught last week.
Wow.
That's a handful of catfish there.
Aw,
You
hugs.
got it. All right, give us the white bass report, bub.
White bass and hybrids over Lake Somerville. They're all mixed up schooling. Look for the bird activity, the seagulls diving at the water, just like you would on the coast. So they'll point the way to those schools, get you a top water or a spoon or something like that. Chase them around when they're on the surface. When they go down, get your electronics, follow the shad, crank them or spoon them, and you can catch your limit in pretty rapid fashion.
All right, bub, thank you so much. We're going to go and take a look at the lower fresh hot spots from Matt's region. He says that you might want to look at Lake Somerville for the white bass and hybrids are schooling on the main lake points. And then look for the birds to point out the surface schoolers, throw crankbaits, topwaters, or spoons to load your boat.
All right, we're going for a beachy coastal vibe over in the Garmin Lower Coast region, down in Padre Island, all the way up to Port Aransas. So let's hear what tip our Captain Chad Kinney has for us. Take us to the beach, Chad.
I tell you what, you're right. At the lower coast, we got miles and miles of the surf fishing, which is great. There's so many different ways you can access it. You can access it by boat. You can access it by vehicle. So basically, we're covering from Port Aransas all the way down to South Padre Island, which is like Boca Chica Beach, right by the Rio Grande River. And I'm stuck right kind of in the middle of the lower part of it, Port Mansfield, which you can access by boat. But I see lots of guys all the time from Corpus, Port A, on my north side and the south side Padre, coming to fish our surf side and jetties also along the way there. It's a great, great time, especially this time of year from now through about October. It's on when the fishing conditions are great, so I'd definitely go try it right now. Definitely look for the conditions to be favorable. You can forecast that out 5-6 days right now, really easy on any app y'all guys got. The calm winds is the main thing with some good water clarity, and then also look for some bait, going through there from the second sandbar, third sandbar. But when everything's right, throw a mirror lure topwater out there. It's phenomenal. You can have a great trout bite, redfish pop on them. You don't know what's going to happen on that stuff. We've got lots of great action. Or you can move over to a saltwater assassin sea shad with a heavier jig head. I'll definitely go to at least a 3/4 ounce at and throw it out as far as you can. Just bump it off the bottom on that sand. It's going to be all sand out there. And normally get some really good trout thumps and some redfish moving through there. Look for some bait movement, and also hit the tidal movement, for some better results. You can also be really successful using some live bait, such as finger mullet. You've got cast net, do that. Some live croaker, take what you got. Carolina rig works really good out there, where you can free line it. At this time of year, works really good also. You can, when you head out there, you never know what it's going to get, but you can get, trout, redfish, drum, whiting. If you're going for bigger fish in the bait balls, you can wind up getting mackerel, Spanish mackerel, tarpon moving through there, sharks. So it's a great way to experience. So enjoy the beach access anywhere you got and enjoy that part. From there, since we're talking about beach, I'm going to talk about offshore right now from the rest of the segment I've got. And the reason being is state water is really on fire, and I'm just going to talk about one little trip we had. So we got a bunch of different species. So offshore is really turned on, like I said, on state water. Clarity's getting better, current's getting better, Hurricane Hannah's gone, everything's great. And state water snapper fishing's open, so you can get mango snapper, grouper, ling, kingfish, all that stuff in the state stuff. So state water says great, water clarity's getting better, and everything, the current's subsiding, so fishing structure from like 30 to 90 feet out there. State water extends 9 nautical miles from the beach, so I can run out of Port Mansfield here, head 20, 30 miles north. I'm still there in state water, so it works out great. Rig up some rods in some different ways before you get there, so you're ready when you get on there. I try like a Eagle Claw trocar jig from a 1 to 3 ounce, tip it with a strip of FISHBITES or a belly strip, bait or squid. I've been using a Moy leader for years, but definitely use it. It's got a higher breaking strength. On that jig head specifically, I'm using like a 60 to 80 pound, let it flow through the water column, hit down through there for the snapper. You can also use a double rig. If you do this, I'd go up on your leader, about 100 to 130 pound works well. On the bottom, you have a bank weight, so like 8 to 12 ounces. Right above that, on your Memorial leader, you tie 2 hook rigs for a 12 to 13 ounce Eagle Claw circle hook. Tip those with some fresh bait, send it straight to the bottom. Plenty of red snapper, occasional mangrove. There's snapper on the reef there. So I got a picture of the first one we caught. There was a good mangrove snapper caught. And moving to the next species we're on there, same trip, moving to state waters, I said, guy grouper. These aren't as, abundant as snapper or anything else. A snapper will get your bait. But the best way to do that is use a 1 ounce Eagle Claw trocar jig, tip it with some small fresh bait like a squid, or put a paddle tail on there, we work good. Let it go down to the bottom and slowly jig it 1 to 5 feet off the bottom. Just kind of slow up and down, not real fast like an amberjack, slow up and down. Keep on repeating this. You'll get some snapper move in, but if you do that, it'll work better. You can also try some live picket perch or live croaker. Use a 100-pound Momoy leader with this, and an 8-ounce egg bank on the bottom also if you're going to use some live bait. And use that with a 3-way swivel. So your main leader, go down to about on an 8-ounce down the bottom, and then about 24 to 30 inches above that, use a 3-way tied to your leader with an eagle claw circle hook to let your live bait swivel around, and that'd be the best bet to do that. Got a picture here of a gag grouper on the same trip. And then moving to the last species we're messing with there, had a good time. Ling have been showing up offshore. A lot of people love this stuff, the copia, the ling. They're hanging around debris like normal and reefs. They're showing up when you're snapper fishing. You can also hit them in the shrimp boats out there, or any above water structure like oil rigs, your buoys, anything like that. And when you have the fish, have that designated rod and reel ready. Also, if you're snapper fishing, have a couple there. Have a small eagle claw bucktail jig with a little plastic paddle tail on one, and the other one I like tying just an eagle claw circle hook tied directly to your mono, to your Momoy mono there, and use that, just those 2 rods right there. So you can use that to 30-pound mono, tie it straight to there. It's going to break a lot higher strength than that, so don't worry about busting off. And it's especially best for these situations. Put a single piece of bait, kind of hide it on that hook there. Throw a few pieces of chum out. Don't over chum when you see those ling pop up. Throw them 1 or 2 pieces. When they start eating it, throw your piece out the same size as what you're chumming. Let the ling eat it. Let them run. Free spool for 20, 30 feet, 40 feet. Click it over and just slowly set the hook. You'll get them inside the jaw, and got a photo of a nice ling there we got.
All right, great report this week, Chad. Looking good. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats hotspots from the Lower Coast region. He says inshore, the Lower Coast jetties have been holding good numbers of redfish and trout in the surf. And then offshore, that state water snapper fishing has been excellent on red snappers, mangrove snappers, ling, and an occasional grouper, Brie.
It's the same guy in both pictures, snapper
Yeah.
and cobia. That's
How
a
about
lucky client. Go
Yeah,
Chad.
man, he had some
Woohoo.
vittles, didn't he?
Producing. All right, we're making long casts into the ALVEY Reels Middle Coast region next, but first, let's get a sneak peek on some rigs and techniques Dave has for us while he's manning that workbench.
This thing will reach out and touch someone.
Oh boy, that's a long cast, Charlie, there, buddy.
Exactly. Nice big ALVEY
Gonna
reel to
teach
get
us how
out
to
in the
use
surf.
that.
Nice.
We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Garmin. Join the club. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Reliability. Yamaha is known for it. And it's something boaters value, because these days, few things are built to last. When we find something that is, we hold on to friendships, traditions, outboards, because every second on the water is sacred. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters choose Yamaha for the long run, for life, because reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with STARTRON. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with STARTRON.
For the Bay and beyond, team up with the best and rule the Bay in a Skeeter. Proven with 19 consecutive NMMA Consumer Satisfaction Awards. And right now through October 19th, you can fall into savings with rebates of up to $2,500. Versatility, control, performance, and design. Visit your local dealer or online at SkeeterBoats.com and fall into savings through October 19th. Skeeter. It's more than a boat. It's a lifestyle.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com. Dave, here we are at the workbench, and we're talking about rigs and techniques when it comes to surf and wading. You know?
Yeah, we're going to talk about wading too.
It's just so important that we talk to people that don't have a boat as well as people that want to get out of the boat.
I didn't have a boat for the longest time because my wife is a very smart lady and wouldn't let me get one because you know, I like to spend money on my boat. She likes to squash my spending habits. But when because I'm not putting a whole lot into the hat compared to what she is. Anyway, when I was going fishing, I was walking, you know, and I was standing on the beach or I was going wading, and I really love to wade. It's still one of my favorite ways to fish because, you know, even when I go surf fishing, I'm usually standing in the water most of the day, and it's I just went the other day, and it was a great day to just be standing out there. When it's really hot, you know, you can be standing up to your waist sometimes and just feel comfortable, and it's just a great way to commune with nature and get up in the fish and get close to them, which is very important a lot of times. Wading is great because you're very stealthy. You know, you can get out there and get right up on fish that you otherwise would spook in a boat or even a small skiff or a canoe or even a kayak. You can't get as close as you can when you're wading. I mean, I've had fish come in schools and go right through my legs, you know, and they didn't even know it. They didn't care I was there. So it's a great way to do that. And, you know, and while it's nice to be out there all by yourself, communing with nature, just make sure that you have a buddy with you somewhere. Because, you know, things can happen when you're out by yourself, you know. So always make sure that you have another fellow with you if you can. You know, I go a lot by myself, but I'm always looking around and making sure, you know, there's alligators and stuff where we fish, and there's always sharks and stingrays and stuff like that. So you want to be aware of your surroundings when you're out there. So
what do you want to use?
Well, if you're on the beach, first you want to find a spot on the beach that is conducive. And, you know, beaches look the same if you're not, you know, looking for certain things. And you're wanting to find is a food chain, you know, fish jumping or a cut that's got a gut that's got a big cut in it. You know, what happens is on the coastline is you'll have a couple sandbars usually. And what happens is during the tides is the water will get up beyond the sandbar, up close to the shore, and it has to find a way to get out. And when it does, it'll cut a channel. And if you're looking, you can see those channel marks in those guts, you know, between the guts. And it's a great to fish in the gut, but when you can find those cuts that are going out, those riptides, as it were.
The X points.
Those exit points, that's where the predators are going to be. They're either going to be right in the middle of it or on either side of it. This past weekend, I walked the beach a good quarter mile before I found a good spot, and my buddies that were with me were griping, "What's wrong with this spot? What's wrong with this spot?" I said, right up there, you can see that it's all going off. You know, there was birds and dolphins and porpoises out there, and I said, that's where it's happening, so that's where we got to be. And it's the same when you're wading inshore. You know, you look for the birds, you look for the bait, and you try to start, you know, in those areas where something's happening.
Yeah.
If it's all just the same, and you start fishing and you're not catching anything, move.
Right.
The guys who catch a lot of fish, either wading or, well, mostly not wading, but on the surf, is they'll get in their truck and they'll take off if they don't get a bite in 20 minutes.
Right.
They're not carrying all their stuff down to the beach, right? You know,
right from the
get-go.
Right.
You know, you want to go down there and try it for 20 minutes if you got a lot of stuff to bring. But, you know, if you don't, this ALVEY side cast is a great way for you, even a novice angler, to make really, really long casts. And, you know, if you're in an area where you need to get, you know, 200 feet or 300 feet out past the second gut to get a bite, it's a great thing to have. Now, I got 20-pound test mono on there, but if you put 14-pound braid on top of that and cast with the braid, you can cast it out of sight. I mean, 14-pound...
Especially with 11 or 12-foot rod.
Yeah, and a 14-pound braid, I don't know where it breaks, but it's probably, our 15-pound braid is probably well above 15 pounds.
Of course.
And it just casts a mile. And it not only when you're going to, do you want to have a long cast rod, you want to bring something that you can work the shallow guts. You make a long cast with your baits, your crabs or your shrimp on your fish bites, and get it way out there in a good spot. But then while that's out there working, you pick up your ALVEY orbiter, your 200, and go out there and cast plugs. I love to cast, like topwater plugs or a big mirror lure, anything in those guts, and try to get the predators to jump on something that I'm throwing at them. And that's,
Can you believe you went through 5 minutes that fast?
No, I can't believe it.
Story time with Dave Farrell. All right, Brie, we got to go.
It never ends. All right, we're always seeing nice catches come from wade fishing in the surf in the ALVEY Reels Middle Coast region. So, Bank, if you'd be so kind, let's focus in on it a little more this week. Go for it.
Awesome. We love the surf. We live for it in Texas. The problem is we don't get enough days of it. 5 to 10 days of calm green surf during the summer is what we get. We take advantage of it. When the surf is flat, we drop everything we're doing and head to the sand. We might be on some of the biggest trout in our life in East Matagorda Bay, but if the surf gets flat, we head out there because there's really no telling how many fish are going to eat the top water and just how big they're going to be. The main target of surf anglers in Texas is speckled trout. I mean, there's other species out there like redfish and Spanish mackerel, but you quiz anyone that's heading to the surf to throw a top water in the pre-dawn darkness, and they will tell you they are after specks. Yeah, we catch reds in the surf, but that's only after we've caught our limit or speckled trouts. Reds are kind of an afterthought. Trout is what's on our minds. I've been throwing she pups and she dogs over bars, while others, later in the day are throwing bass assassins, the mirror lures, and then live baiters are throwing live shrimp under a cork. Last week we were able to get in the surf for a few days. We caught some good trout, but what we noticed is the number of deep guts that were filled in from Tropical Storm Hannah. I like what Dave was talking about the guts, the bars. We saw a lot of elongated sandbars where normal deep guts were holding, and what that was from, we had a tropical storm through here, and it was pushing 4 and 5 foot tides above normal, and it was beating, just filling in those guts with sand. So we lost a lot of our structure out there. But good news is it's going to come back. And it might be deeper the next time we get in there. So we like to work on those guts and find that structure. We love to wade fish this time of year as well. Our customers, we like wading that sand and the grass in West Matagorda Bay when we can't get in the surf. Lately, the bright moon, it's been best around sunrise, just as the moon's falling on the horizon. We've been throwing sheep pups and bass assassins and mirror lure softines on the edges of the reefs. And the mid-bay reefs in East Matagorda Bay have been good with light wind. Sheep pups, bass assassins, softines have worked around Half Moon, Three Beacon, and Long Reef. Drifters have found good fish on live shrimp under a mid-coast cork around Boiler Bow, Raymond Shoals, Oyster Farm, and Boggy Cut. And many of the captains report they're releasing at least one fish over 5 pounds every day. There are just a lot of trout out there right now. Reefs in San Antonio Bay has been hot with light wind. Some are wading with live bait. Some are posted up on the edges of the reefs on finger mullet. Waders closer to Cedar Bayous found fish, the guts on soft plastics and corkies. Tides fell a bit in Rockport this week. Anglers worked the edge of the ICW on live shrimp and then shrimp imitations. Soft plastics like bass assassins and mirror lure Little Johns have worked well in the shrimp boat channel. Their photo there is a 30-incher caught on Captain Glenn Ging's boat. That angler released that prize back to East Bay, and one of us will get a chance to catch it again.
Good for you guys
redfish,
letting go all those big fish, Bink.
Yeah, it's catching on here in Texas. I know y'all been doing it in Florida for a long time. It's catching on, man, and really protecting our fish. And the redfish, I tell you, in West Matagorda Bay has been good. Limits of redfish for Brett Sweeney and Albert Garrison. Kendall Kerr said he's working, schooling redfish in East Matagorda Bay. Gold spoons and shrimp have worked best. The jetty is always good. Matagorda, Freeport, Port O'Connor, Port Aransas, mullet, piggy perch, and large table shrimp. The bull redfish, they're in the surf right now too. Most of them are in the first gut. Beach anglers, they're tossing crabs and mullet, and it's actually better for those redfish when that surf is rough than it is when it's green to the beach. Offshore, Michael Quebeca, Matagorda, so those kingfish are all over the place. in about 200 foot of water. He chases swordfish and tilefish as well, 60 to 80 miles out. Freeport, Mike Siegel said the kingfish bite's been great behind those Gulf shrimp boats. Plenty of Spanish mackerel hanging around with the kings as well. In Port Aransas and Port O'Connor, kingfish, amberjack, and tuna. But man, there are a lot of tarpon showing up around the Port O'Connor jetty and around the Port Aransas jetty right now. Fish up to 160 pounds. August really gets kicked off for our tarpon month in Texas, and it only gets better in September.
Okay, thank you for a great report, Bink. We're going to take a look at the hot spots from the ALVEY Middle Coast region. Bink says that inshore, the trout are good in the surf on live shrimp and plum chartreuse, bass assassin, sea shad. Fish them for East Matagorda Bay on mirror lure, soft dines on the mid-bay reef, and then offshore. Those redfish are good at the Freeport jetty on shrimp. That's so funny that they refer to a jetty offshore for big bull redfish. Because it's not in a bay and they're so bay oriented.
Right.
Especially Binkalicious.
Go for it. Binkalicious. Alrighty then. All right, the upper and STARTRON middle fresh regions are coming at you next right here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, so stay tuned. And remember, if you want to keep up with all things fishing in Texas, visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we upload new content every week. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. ALVEY Reels, a better way to fish. And Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
Why is Casa Vieja Lodge on everyone's bucket list?
Left teaser, left flat as well, 2 fish. They're everywhere. Right flat teaser as well. Left flat, right flat teaser.
Come to Casa Vieja Lodge and check it off your list.
Finding a shoreline is easy. Finding a sure thing is not. For over 20 years, anglers from Kitty Hawk to California and every shore in between have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites. So just stop with the fishing and get busy with the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures or visit fishbites.com.
In the United States, there are over 12,000 miles of shoreline. But fishing along the shore means you need gear made for the sand and surf. Well, ALVEY Reels has made its name in Australia over the last 100 years with their sidecast reels. And now, ALVEY is making its mark in the U.S. ALVEY sidecast reels allow you to cast over 150 yards with up to 900 yards of line capacity. ALVEY's state-of-the-art drag and 22 inches of retrieve rate per wind is the perfect combination for fishing in the surf. ALVEY reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are, in fact, so robust that ALVEY's comes with a 10-year salt and sand warranty. So yeah, go ahead, bury it in the sand, jump in and get wet. And if ALVEY signed reels caught your attention, check out ALVEY's Orbiter spinning reels. These reels are designed and engineered in Australia, but tested and proven in Texas. Not only do these reels look good, they feel like a dream. Every feature of the ALVEY Orbiter gives you full control of the fish. The big interchangeable handle lets you crank up to 34 inches of line per crank. Got a big one on the line? It's no problem, because you can dial up to 25 pounds of drag to make sure you don't lose that trophy fish. The ALVEY Orbiter comes in 4 different models, but all have the same solid standards that anglers demand. Become the king of the surf, flats, and reefs with your arsenal of ALVEY sidecast and orbiter spinning reels.
All right, the Upper Fresh region is rearing and ready to get this weekend started, boat or no boat, on Lake Fork and Tawakoni. So, Mr. Geis, take it away.
Hey, Bree. Hey, let's start out tonight talking about a little crappie update on Lake Fork. Due to kind of a mild thermocline setting in, which I'll talk more about at the end of my report here, but we're finding these bigger crappies suspended out about 15 to 20 foot deep in the submerged trees, and these trees are out there in 35 to 40 foot of water, so they're up in the tops of the timber. Larger crappie are finding these deep water sanctuary spots to be a more to their liking, and man, they seem to be a lot less spooky and more in mood to bite at this depth. So I still expect they'll move back into the creeks as fall approaches, but right now the deeper water is the best place to fish, where the big ones are staying. I'm using minnows versus jigs, and so they're a lot easier for customers to feel the bite on, and that's just what's working for us. So once I determine the depth that's holding the most of the crappie, we start out at that depth, just about any area of the lake we want to fish that day, depending on the wind. And I'll put that Garmin live scope down, set that bottom depth around 25 foot, and then slowly start trolling into the wind with that force trolling motor. I set the forward range out pretty good ways, like 75 to 80 feet, and start slowly sweeping the transducer left and right out in front of the boat. And it usually doesn't take real long before you find a bunch of crappie schooled up on certain trees. Usually they've got some big parallel limbs or brush pile that's been dropped down beside them, and man, they're loaded up with the crappie right now. We're slowly moved the boat into about 10 foot, drop our bait, spot lock it, drop our bait right down just above the crappie, and then you better be ready as soon as your minnow gets down there, because they usually come right out of the cover and bite. They'll rise to that bait, so sometimes they'll stall out or stop right before they get to it. And what you need to do then is don't drop your bait, but just lift it just slightly, and they'll go ahead and eat the minnow if you retrieve it that way. So after you catch several fish from a piece of structure, the rest of the school, they'll be on alert, so it's best to move on along to the next school instead of trying to fight hard and get another bite or two. Just move on to the next bunch and keep catching them. So right now, catch a few fish out of the spot, move on, and you'll end up with limited crappie that way. Here's a couple of pictures of some recent catches this last week. As you can see, the size of these deep water crappie on Fork, and that's some pretty good slabs for this time of the year. Good mess of fish. So, hey, we're going to move on over to the stripers over on Tawakoni. Guide Matt Cartwright continues to bring in the limits of stripes and sand bass each day. Some days he says the bite's fast and furious, and some days he has to do a lot of looking to find the fish, so it just depends on what kind of weather we got. Lately, Matt has been on some heavy stripers. Usually the hot August weather turns those striper bites on, and man, he's been targeting some of the largest fish you'll see from the pictures in a minute. So he's using large gizzard shads, the most consistent way to catch the big stripers, but a sassy shad type swim bait or heavy slabs, they'll get the job done also. The big flutter spoons are sometimes a ticket to triggering the big bites, especially on the windy days. Tawakoni has a lot of fishing pressure on the weekends, but during the week, the boat pressure is much less, so try to book your trips during the week if you can. Tawakoni has some excellent structure, a lot of ridges out there, underwater humps, deep water by, and these are the best places to search for those schools of big stripers. There's also a large timber area you got to be careful of down on the south end of Lake Tawakoni. A lot of timber right under the water. The level of the lake down there is about 40 to 50 feet, and many times those stripers, they'll suspend up in the deep trees. Getting a big striper out is a challenge, and you better expect some break-offs when you start pulling them out of the timber, but it can be done. So If you want some hard fighting action, check in with old Matt Cartwright, book a trip in August on Tawakoni, and get you some of these fish like in these two pictures here. Matt posted on his recent trip this week, and he cleans a bunch of them like that about every day he goes on the waters. Pretty good striper.
Yeah, you got it.
Hey, real quick, Rick, the weather's hot. I want to talk a little bit about we got time for thermocline developing. These lakes, they don't have any current around here, and so they're more common to develop that thermocline around 20 to 25 foot this time of year. That's where that water develops a layer of cold water on the bottom, warmer water on top. Where these two layers meet, that's that thermocline. You won't find any fish below that. There's no oxygen level down there, and all the bait and all the fish will be right above that line. So how does that affect your fishing in the summer? Well, as that air temperature rises during the summertime, that thermocline begins to lose more of that dissolved oxygen, and you better be above it if you're going to catch them. So that's what's happening right now in Fork and Tawakoni. Be sure you're looking for structure above that line. You're targeting fish suspended in the trees above that thermocline. So I'm setting the bottom depth range of my Garmin about that depth, 20 to 25 foot, scoping that big timber, and that's where we're finding some good fish. So they should stay in that pattern a few more weeks till we get a cool front or some heavy rains. And weather's hot out here in Texas, hot and fishing on Lake Fork, Tawakoni, but it's a great time to be out here.
Gotta go, Johnny. We'll talk to you later. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the upper fresh region hotspots. Johnny says Lake Fork, the crappie and the bass are holding in the deeper water. The best bet on flutter spoons, jigs, and worms. Crappie are best on minnows and jigs, and then Lake Tawakoni. The big striper schooling up in August. Live shad, swim baits, the best baits, and the sand bass on the slabs is going to work for those guys as well.
All right, let's cast into the StarTron Middle Fresh region, where your guide Matt Loescher is dialing us in on the Toledo Bend and LBJ Weekend Bite. Talk to us, Matt.
All right, Brie. Yeah, I'm going to start out with the crappie as well this week. Kind of similar report to what Johnny had there. You know, it's kind of a hit or miss deal. You're not catching a lot of fish out of one spot. So I guess you could say the crappie bites turned a little crappy this week on Toledo Bend. But we have managed to catch a good mess of them every time we go out. It just hasn't come easy lately is all. We're a little spoiled, I guess, but we're adjusting to these tough August conditions and getting it done. We just kind of came off a big, bright, full moon lately, and I think the fish must have fed heavily at night because, like I said, the daytime bite's been a lot tougher. But we're scratching and clawing and getting a good mess of them every day. They're still hanging out in the same places, about 15 to 25 foot deep, around the deep timber and the pilings around the bridges. And they're eating minnows or jigs. They just really want the bait to fall slowly. You know, they're not really wanting that aggressive, fast falling bait, so really try to make sure your bait's coming down nice and slow. Use a lightweight jig or lower that minnow down tight line real slow when you deliver it to them. That's how they want it. Also, we're only catching a few fish from each spot. You know, when you find a school, there may be 100 fish there, but you're only going to catch 5, or you might catch 10 or 20, but just get what they give you, and when they kind of shut it down and get hard to catch, just move on. You can find some more. So we've kind of been bouncing around using a stick and move approach to catch them, and it's been making for some pretty good days. I got a photo here for you of probably the cutest crappie photo I've had this season of little Brock's there with a nice crappie. He and his family hung out with me for a couple days catching those crappie on Toledo Bend. We had a good time.
All right. What else you got this week, bub?
We're going to talk about some bass now, starting out with Toledo Bend. They've been kind of touchy, kind of quickly firing up and feeding, and then just as quickly going dormant again. Similar to the crappie, you know, you kind of got to get what they give you and then move on. Are grouped up in big schools, and they're chasing shad. They're kind of schooling on the top a lot lately. So look for that, especially early in the morning and late in the evening. You know, it's not going to last long. Maybe an hour or so after that sun starts to break over is all you're going to get. But it can be a lot of fun. So when you find them, crankbaits and worms in the area have been the best ticket. Even though they're schooling and swimming all over the place, they usually have a spot that's kind of like their home base. So if you can find that sweet spot, usually you're better off just kind of sitting right there and throwing that crankbait or repeatedly throwing that worm into that spot, because they're going to frequently pass by that spot. You can waste a lot of time trying to chase them around. I like to usually just sit in one spot. They've been hanging about 10 to 20 foot deep on the points and humps, and we've been catching them pretty good, so it's been a lot of fun. And Mr. Thurman Selman told me that the largemouth bite has been a struggle on Richland Chambers lately, but he's been fishing around the grass on Lake Fairfield and doing pretty well there. He said he's been doing well there on topwater baits early in the morning, and then he's flipping between the grass and the reed line after the sun rises. And then moving down to LBJ, Jared Poole also mentioned a tough bite this week, so he's kind of been supplementing with other species again this week, which moves me on to the white bass and the hybrid. Jared said that the white bass and the hybrid have been biting really well up on the Colorado River arm of Lake LBJ, and he's still catching them after dark around the green dock lights on shallow diving crankbaits. And I'm going to finish out with a photo there from Jared of a nice cooler full of whites and a few hybrids in there, so you can kind of see what he's catching.
Nice. That's a pretty cooler full of fish, bub. How those fish taste? Good?
Oh yeah, they're great to eat. They've got a little bit of a bloodline along the skin, kind of similar to a redfish, I guess you could say. But man, you just cut that off and it's flaky white meat. They make the best fish taco around.
All right, love to hear it. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the middle fresh hot spots from Matt's region, the STARTRON region. He says crappie in 15 to 25 feet around timber and pylons, biting slower falling presentations of jigs or a minnow. And then bass are starting to school up on the surface, chasing shad in 10 to 20 feet. And those white bass are being caught up the Colorado River around green lights on crankbaits. Man, they're bouncing all over the place in the middle fresh region.
Bouncing. All right, up next is the Fish Bites Upper Coast region. But first, let's see what new products we'll be exploring with Dave at the workbench. What's looking good over there, Dave?
Well, who'd have thought that your next boat shoe is going to be made by Adidas?
Adidas.
Pretty cool,
like
huh?
How about it?
Very light,
good.
very nice.
We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a MirrOlure. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. And STARTRON. Cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO. Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
The only reel with over 100 years of heritage. ALVEY reels are manufactured using the most reliable components. ALVEY state-of-the-art drag and retrieve rates are perfect for any fishing challenge. So whether it's a side cast or spinning reel, ALVEY makes a reel that best fits your needs. ALVEY reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the ALVEY also comes with up to a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alveus.com.
Today's Power Pole tip is about the Charge Marine Power Station. In the previous video, we showed you how to set up the Charge and let it know what type of batteries you're working with for your trolling motor and your engine battery. Today I want to dive into how to connect, control, and customize what your Charge is doing throughout the day. let's say I know I'm gonna go fish real hard in the current and use my trolling motor a lot, I can get into the Sea Monster app and tell the charger to focus more of the engine priority on my trolling motor batteries as we're running around all day. But now let's switch it up. It's a nice weekend. I've got the wife and the kids. We're gonna go out to the island and hang out. I'm gonna move that priority over to the engine. And what I've done, I've tied my trolling motor batteries back to the engine battery, so I have a real big source of power for all the speakers, the stereo, the large amps. And that way, when we go to leave, I won't have too little of power to start the outboard. The Powerful Charge, customize, control, connect. That's your tip of the week.
Dave, we're here at the workbench, got some new toys, and actually one that isn't necessarily known for the fishing business.
Yes, the Adidas over there, the light racer that you found that you really like and been wearing on the boat.
Yeah, so what happened was my son Colin for Christmas bought me a pair of Adidas. They weren't like this.
Right.
But they did have a white sole bottom. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna take them out and I'm gonna wear them in the boat. And they were so comfortable that I went to Adidas outlet mall and I found these. And the reason why I decided to start wearing these is because they have a foam that's inside here that forms to your foot over a short period of time. But more importantly, fly fishing, I got no laces.
Right.
And so what ended up happening, you know, and that's what's so cool about this is that Adidas now has a shoe that we're learning to adapt to another category.
Well, it's called the Adapt. It's the Light Racer Adapt.
Of course.
And you know, it's made for running, but it's perfect for a run in a long run in a boat because it's got a really nice cushion on the bottom. It's quick drying mesh on the top there, and it's a slip-on. Which is awesome, especially when you're traveling and you have to take your shoes off. Yeah. You slip them on and slip them off. It's got a cushioned feel. It's a sock-like. It feels like a sock when you put it on, and it fits real tight and gives you a very secure feeling. It's got nice white non-skid on the bottom there, and it won't mark for sure.
Absolutely, and it's not made out of leather like some of the competition, where now we can throw this in the washer.
Exactly.
Anytime we want.
They're incredibly light, so go try out.
Try them out,
Adidas.com. The Adapt.
All
right, next we got some Strike King, the headbanger there. That's a Hack Attack Select Headbanger Toad Buzz. That's a lot of name, but it's got it's a premium needlepoint hook and a tunable blade in there. You can actually tune the blade so you can have it bouncing off that head even more if you want, or a little bit lighter. And it's got a nice big perfect plastic gurgle toad on there, and it just makes a heck of a lot of noise. If you're sitting in a place where you want to make a lot of noise and get big fish to come and see what you've got pulling through there, that's a great thing. A buzzbait bite is always a great bite anyway.
Of course.
Because you can usually see them coming for it before they eat it. But, go to StrikeKing.com and get you some of these headbanger toad buzzes. They come in a lot of different colors, 9 different colors. So
all right.
You can get one of those. And at the opposite end of the spectrum from, banging them on the head, now you've got the little bit of finesse working with the Lunker Hut pre-rigged finesse claw. I had another one on here the other day. When I get tuned in to a bait, you guys are going to hear a lot about it, but I've been fishing a lot of finesse baits, and this finesse crawl is a really good one. It's a 1/4 ounce 3-inch bait. It comes pre-rigged in here on a mushroom head, a Ned head really, and you can fish it on the Ned head. You can give it a quick jerk and let it fall down and have it scurrying across the bottom.
Ned head.
Or you can just give it a slow long jerk and let it fall real fast like he's in a defensive motion.
Right.
Either way, it's got a little weedless wire on there, and if you're finesse fishing, they love those little crawdads, and now's the time to be using them as well.
All right.
Last but not least, we have some FISHBITES approved tackle. They've got a new part on their website where they're actually, if somebody's making some stuff that works well with their baits, they'll put them on there. And this is Captain Paul's Pompano rigs. They're made by Captain Paul Spirko, and they're especially designed, to be used with the FISHBITES as well. 100% fluorocarbon leader, 40-pound ball bearing swivel.
Comes with directions.
Yep, it tells you how to put the sand fleas and shrimp and crabs and all that on there, and your fish bites as well. High Fizz floats, coming either in orange or blaze orange or chartreuse.
I like it.
So go on to fishbites.com and get on the tackle section, and you'll see other things. I'm sure that they'll be coming out with fellas that making stuff to work with fish bites.
Good job over here, Dave. You worked hard tonight.
Yeah.
Don't you think
Why
you did
not?
a good job, Brie?
You did a great job. And you know what? Speaking of fish bites, the Fish Bites Upper Coast region is ready to take on the Wade Fishing Challenge, and Captain Carl Weston is on the line to tell us the best plan of attack for your sneaky attack. Go for it, Carl.
Hey guys, let's get started. So, surf fishing is definitely a popular style of fishing for a lot of the anglers here in the Upper Coast. When you can leave your truck, go down to the beach, fish into the surf. This allows you to not be seen by a lot of the fish, sneaking out to the sandbars, getting out to those bigger fish. Because outboard motors and noises that come from a boat a lot of times will spook fish in these shallow situations, and you don't have to worry about that. Getting your hookup spoiled by a bunch of noise. So, even if you don't have a boat, this is a great way to fish. Many of the best beachfront areas are little to no expense. They don't cost you. You can bring as many people as you want down there and fish. And the different kind of fish you can catch from the beach is endless. So it opens up a big realm of possibilities, and it's a lot of fun. We all probably started there, and it's a great way to fish. And today we have a picture of Shannon here with a nice trout.
There you go. All right, tell us about the redfish, bub.
Well, redfish are still running strong in the Upper Coast. The baitfish schools are scattered all over east and west Galveston Bay, and that means the fish are almost everywhere. The seagulls are still marking the bait early in the morning and all the way until late evening, so just keep your eye in the sky for the birds. They'll direct you right where you want to go. There's some really nice redfish around the oyster reefs in the middle Bay area and along the grassy shoreline still. Anglers have been tossing Miralore Miradines in a green or a silver color, which is matching the hatch, along with 4-inch bass assassin shrimp on about an 1/8-ounce jig head. Natural bait options have varied now, from shrimp and finger mullet to live shad, since we have so many options in the bay. And you might try rigging your live baits on a Texas-style rig. Eagle Claw makes a laser-sharp hook, and Diamond Malloy has an amazing fluorocarbon for making this leader setup. And as for surf fishing goes on the beachfront, the past week has been a lot of fun. The lack of wind and surf has made it easy to spot fish and target them. And we have a picture today of Casey and Kylie with one of those nice reds we're talking about.
Nice. All right, let's go offshore, bub.
Let's do it. This week, offshore the seas have been amazingly calm. We really got a break. It's been so calm, we don't know what to do with ourselves, and it's allowed us to get those current breaks to gather up patches of grass and debris. And these small patches have been holding a lot of bait, Rick. This bait's been attracting a lot of fish, like wahoo. The only downfall of this time of the year is the wahoo aren't as big as they are earlier, but it's still just as fun. Bump trolling live baits along the weed lines has made for some really fast, fun action. We usually start out by trolling. I'll troll some of the R&R Wahoo Magnet Seniors and an assortment of Mahi magnets in different colors till I find a school. Once we've located that school of Wahoo, I can switch back to, say, live shad on a large Eagle Claw treble hook with a wire leader, and then hang on, guys. It's game on. These fish have been 15 to 30 pound range, so if you're fishing with light tackle, you can still have a great time and get a good workout in. We have a picture today of Tyler with his first wahoo.
Nice. All right, what else you got for us? One more to go.
Moving on, another fun pelagic fish to target on these weed lines is Dorado. I know we've talked about them this year, and we're going to talk about them again because they're hot and heavy. And as the summer rolls on for us here in Texas, these fish get bigger by the day. This week on the water, we caught a dozen mahi schooling around a little log floating in a weed line. So don't be afraid to stop and throw in some bait chunks, some chum for a few minutes. You never know what's going to come or swim up to your boat around these little small patches nowadays. So, and as you're running along the edge of these current breaks, look for small bait fish hiding under the grass. And keep an eye out for flying fish. Flying fish is one of Dorado's favorite meals. Try trolling these artificial lures along the break at about 5 to 7 knots is the speed I like. And the bright green and yellow Mahi magnet from R&R this past week was amazing. We caught a ton of fish on them. They caught
3 or 4 to 1 in any other color. And we have a picture today of Natasha with a couple of mahi she caught this week.
All right, Carl. Well, Natasha's looking good, sporting her mahi and her mahi magnet. But let me ask you real quick, Carl. You know, they had that tournament got canceled because of the hurricane. Have they rescheduled anything?
They have talked about at the end of the month, but I don't think anything's confirmed yet. We're still waiting, and we're trying to just see how that works with everybody's schedule.
All right, well, you got to let Miss Brie know as soon as you know something. Great report tonight. It is time for me to take a look at the MirrOlure hotspots from the Upper Coast region. He says inshore, trout wading along the grass shoreline, throwing topwater twitch baits or shrimp on popping corks. And then offshore, wahoos troll live bait along the current edges on a treble hook with a wire leader.
Well, it sounds like Carl is cuckoo for wahoo.
Who isn't?
Yeah, he is.
Who
cuckoo.
isn't, though? That is absolutely correct.
I love those things. That's if I'm offshore, that's usually what I'm fishing for.
He loves a kingfish too. He's really good at both of those fish. You know?
Likes the toothy critters.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
They're good to eat,
Fun.
both of them.
They are good to eat.
Smoked kingfish and wahoo, barely cooked.
I'm more of a mahi girl myself.
I think right now you're more of the spiny lobster girl myself.
That's true. I did catch
A wahoo's
a
worth
those.
5 mahis.
But a mahi in one hand.
One
and a
wahoo's
lobster.
worth 5 mahis.
Hey, watch your mouth.
For sure. For sure. I take the wahoo sushi.
Yeah.
Oh,
My
okay,
fave.
fine. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Bye,
It's a
guys.
good show. We'll see you guys next week. Catch those fish. Send us those photos. Bye.
Bye.